Hello everybody, Ollamh here, and welcome back to Sierra Saturday and the Dagger of Amon Raw. So, we have made it through the first chapter. Last week's was a long episode, mostly because we were working our way through all that. And if I remember right, today's episode may be fairly heavy as far as dialogue, just because there's a lot of eavesdropping to be done.
There is a tall, imposing gentleman guarding the door. He appears to be wearing a German military uniform.
Well, now that's awkward. Hello?
This affair is by invitation only, Fräulein. Your papers, please.
You would probably be, what's his name? I can't remember his name now.
Danke, Fräulein. I'll return this pass when you're leaving. Enjoy yourselves this evening.
Right. Thank you. Apparently time has progressed. So now we can go on in. And we need to pick up a water glass.
Pick it up and place it in your purse.
Because that's going to be a big help later on. Hello? Who are you?
You must be Dr. Ptah Sheptut Smith. Nice gold ankh you're wearing. This is quite a party, isn't it?
I find it distasteful to celebrate thievery in the name of science. The artifacts in this museum's Egyptian collection do not belong here. They belong in Egypt.
That's only your opinion.
It is the truth. And the thieves who rob Egypt of its ancient treasures will find death waiting for them. Amon-Ra will have his revenge.
Will he now?
I see. Well, nice weather we're having.
You see a rotund, ruddy-complexioned man in a fez. Despite his bulk, he moves with dignity and grace.
Right. I have a question, about this burglary?
Have you heard anything about the burglary?
No?
Do you have any idea who would want to steal the Dagger of Amon Ra?
It has already been stolen once from Egypt.
Right.
I can see I won't get anywhere with you on this topic.
How about just Egyptology in general?
Since you're an expert on the subject, what can you tell me about Egyptology?
The study of ancient Egyptian history is of the greatest significance. Many of our modern religious customs originated in the ancient world. The time of the great pharaohs and of the great Egyptian gods was the peak of human civilization. Our modern society is a mere shadow of its former glory when compared to the pinnacle of human development reached by the ancient Egyptians. They knew the truth, and the truth was Amon-Ra. He led Egypt to world domination.
Aren't you exaggerating just a teensy bit?
I would not expect you to understand. You are not an Egyptian, and you are a woman.
What's that supposed to mean?
I grow tired of this topic. Speak of something else if you wish to continue our conversation.
Fine. Let's... Let's see here. What all can we ask him about? What about Ramses Niger? Wolf Heimlich.
Ramses I was pharaoh during the 19th dynasty, from 1307 to 1306 BC. But Ramses II made more of an impact on ancient Egypt. Ramses II was responsible for gargantuan construction projects which left his mark on the face of Egypt for thousands of years. I admire his great works and hope to emulate his feats someday.
Actually, I was referring to Ramses Nagia.
Nigeria's never heard of him.
Are you sure you don't know him?
No? I mean, yes. English is such a difficult language.
Right.
I had hoped that Dr. Carrington would listen to reason. I had made another appointment to speak with him about the return of the Dagger of Amon Ra to its rightful home. But this seems futile since it is no longer in the museum.
Another appointment? You spoke to Dr. Carrington once already?
Only by phone. He denied Egypt's claim to the dagger. It was hoped that a personal visit would convince him of our sincerity. But the situation has changed since then.
Right. Okay. Pippin Carter. I think he was the guy that actually found the dagger.
You dare to mention his name to me? He is the blasphemous temple destroyer and tomb robber who stole the Dagger of Amon Ra from Egypt. He will know the full force of the curse of the pharaohs.
The curse of the pharaohs? What's that?
The defilers of the great Egyptian tombs and temples will all die as a result of their crimes. The gods themselves will punish them. The great Amon Ra will snuff out Pippin Carter's life as easily as I can crush a dung beetle under my shoe.
How will this happen?
Amon Ra works in mysterious ways. You will have to wait and see.
Okay.
I believe he's investigating the burglary of the Dagger of Amon Ra. Perhaps, if he'd stopped drinking, he might have a chance at finding it.
Well.
Do you know Steve Dorian? He works at the docks.
I don't associate with common dock workers, madam.
You're just a snob. Not the good kind of snob.
I have only met her briefly, but she seems to have a sincere concern about my problems. A charming woman.
I'm sure.
Dr. Miklos is very well educated for a woman. I would like her more if she were an Egyptian.
So, yeah, he is very, He is misogynistic, he's, xenophobic, kind of a racist.
Ah, a delightful girl. I keep asking her if she'd like to be my second wife. She is so very feminine and seductive and charming and attractive and...
Okay. I get the idea.
Yeah.
You should try to be more like Yvette. Men would like you more that way.
Men like me just fine the way I am.
That's what you think. I find you quite annoying.
So, Wolf Heimlich, that was the guy at the door.
Heimlich is that annoying guard who works here. His fanatical devotion to his occupation is admirable, but he seemed lacking in his mental capacities. This could be a fine museum if the management would return its stolen Egyptian artifacts to their proper home.
Right. Okay. Next.
Good evening, Dr. Miklos.
Oh, good evening, Miss Bo.
Have we been introduced? I don't remember.
Dr. Carter is an odd one if you ask me. He is so very interested in gaining personal glory. He doesn't seem to fully understand the beauty of what he has discovered. Why, the Amun-Ra artifacts are a symphony, a tribute to the wonders of death. Ah.
Okay, she's a scary lady. Scary, scary lady.
Dr. Carrington is a quiet one. I don't see him very often. I'm certain, however, that he must have a poetic soul.
What makes you say that, Dr. Miklos?
I have seen him walking amongst the dead in the Egyptian exhibit late at night. I cannot blame him. It's better than moonlight on headstones. Ah.
Right, she is super creepy.
Ah, yes. Detective O'Reilly. I can't say that I'm overly fond of that one. He has little respect for the wonderful things in the museum, and he is too firmly rooted in this life. I do not believe that he likes the dead at all. Can you imagine?
Yes?
An odd little fellow, that one. He reminds me of one of the specimens in my dried rat collection. I don't know if I trust that one. She screamed when she saw my beautiful dried rat exhibit and cried out like a baby when my ferret Daisy bit her ankle. Foolish woman.
Can't blame her. Creature bitter.
Mr. Najir is a very quiet one, isn't he? And so polite. Sometimes I wonder about him, though. I see a certain light in his eyes, like Daisy's, when she's about to kill a spider. I think I like Mr. Najir.
She is just really, really dark and creepy. Yvette, I imagine you don't like
I find Yvette to be a charming young lady.
Really?
Some people around here don't appreciate her zest for life, but I find her quite refreshing.
Well, as centered around death as you are, I could see that.
Ah, Wolf. He has some lovely scars, doesn't he? Just between us girls, I think he's dreamy.
Okay. Wait. Actually, I want to just talk to him.
How are you, Detective O'Reilly?
Just fine, lassie. You're looking lovely this evening.
Thanks.
He's not much of a security guard, if you're asking me. How could I trust a man who allowed a thief to waltz right in here and steal one of the exhibits if he didn't do it himself? He hasn't even got an alibi for the night of the burglary, since he was here alone. That man is a human weasel.
Okay,
Stay away from him.
You know what?
lassie.
I don't think I've actually gotten to talk to him and, ask him about people.
That fella is just too big for his britches, that's all I have to say. Someone ought to take him down a notch or two.
Well, I think most people would agree.
He's got too many brains, that one. He thinks he's better than us all. Now there's a slippery old bat. If she's royalty, then I'm Rudolph Valentino.
Who? Sorry, I'm not up on 1920s individuals. All right, Ramesses.
I don't like that wee fella. Think he's light in his loafers, don't you know?
Yeah, again, not following you, sorry.
That woman is downright unnatural, Miss Laura. I'd stay away from her if I were you. She keeps asking me if I've got any scars, don't you know?
Well, do you?
Now there's a lovely girl. A real lady, don't you know? If you ask me, missy, They're blowing the whole thing out of proportion. Begorra, you'd think that something important had been stolen.
You don't consider a priceless Egyptian artifact to be important?
Listen, girlie, if I chased down every petty theft that occurred within the nastier segments of the population, I'd be working 30 hours a day.
I would hardly call the Lion-Decker Museum a nasty segment of the population, Mr. O'Reilly. And if you're referring to our Egyptian visitors, shame on you. And don't call me girly.
By me father's whiskers, you're a fiery one, Miss Laura. All right, I won't call you girly, little lassie.
Not any better. I did not ask her about the burglary, though. What do you think about the burglary?
Dr. Miklos, do you have any idea who would want to steal the Dagger of Amon Ra?
Very funny. Everybody, silly girl. It's a priceless artifact. Not only that, but it is said that the blade is an unknown alloy that can slice through bone like butter.
I suppose that was a silly question after all. Let me rephrase that. Do you know of anyone with any particular motive?
Well, Tut Smith and Ramesses Najir both wanted it very badly to return it to their homeland. But they are both so upset, it hardly seems possible that they could have done it. Then again, perhaps they are just fine actors.
You see a rotund, ruddy-complexioned man in a fez. Despite his...
Yeah. I was wanting to see, is there anything specific?
Upon close inspection, that's not the sort of thing you want to examine too closely.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, there's just a lot of people here. And if I remember right, we actually need to eavesdrop on these people, which means we need to walk behind them. Oh, maybe not this. Maybe not this particular group. Maybe it's just at this table here. So if we walk behind these people.
There I was, standing on the hillside above the excavation in the Valley of the Kings, with the faithful Mahmud describing the dance of the seven veils to me in great detail, when a shout rose up from the workers below us. Sensing an important discovery at hand, since I have a sixth sense about these things, I scurried downhill to see that a step had been uncovered in the sand. It turned out to be the entrance to the Temple of Amon Ra. I took the trowel from the Boskafir and cleared the sand away from the rest of the steps myself, revealing the entrance to the temple. The seal of the necropolis was intact on the door seal, indicating that the temple had not been disturbed. I knew that fate had brought me to the discovery I had been seeking for so long. Tireless after my exertion in clearing the staircase, I used a sledgehammer to break through the sealed doorway. Within lay the greatest accomplishment of my considerable career. Hidden within the darkness, untouched for thousands of years in the isolated temple, lay the magnificent Dagger of Amon Ra, the greatest discovery of modern archaeology.
Good show.
Magnifique. Very impressive, Dr. Carter.
So, that's when you heisted it, right?
No, I didn't heist it, you annoying little man. I took it out of the temple and showed it to the workers, who immediately fell upon their faces, all 350 of them, to show respect for my accomplishment.
That's hard to believe, Dr. Carter. Egyptian workers have proudly worked the archaeological digs for many years. I would not think they'd exaggerate their respect for you to such an extent.
But then you weren't there, were you, Mr. Nagier?
Well, no, that's true.
And when was the last time you were in Egypt, Mr. Nagier? You seem to have lost some of your accent.
Well, it has been several years.
I thought as much.
Your discovery really was quite a remarkable achievement, Dr. Carter.
Was remarkable, Dr. Carrington? You mean it is a remarkable achievement. There has never been anything like it before.
Quite so. Correction noted, Doctor.
If you will all be excusing me, I see a man I need to speak to.
Certainly, Miss Delacroix. Certainly.
Right. So, okay, we are going to save. Because that is all the time we have for today, this is probably going to be one of the biggest and biggest areas, and one of the things that's going to take up the most time is talking to everybody, eavesdropping on everybody, and stuff like that. But yeah, we met three characters in particular, got to talk to them. We got to talk to Tut Smith. We got to talk to Dr. Miklos. And we also got to talk a bit more in depth with Detective Riley. And it's really interesting to see how they really well developed the characters and really had an idea of who the characters were. Like, Miklos is obsessed with war and death and stuff like that. Whereas Detective O'Reilly's just kind of like, okay, so everybody's a suspect. Everybody's a suspect. I have to keep an eye on everybody. I have to figure out where everybody was and stuff like that. Next time, we'll meet some more of the colorful characters and get a bit more of an idea of who we're dealing with and stuff like that. As always, thank you guys very much for watching, and don't forget to prod the subscribe button down below so that you can stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions.
If you wanna see some crazy,
Cheerio!
so lazy, then you should meet me and my friends. Even though we got no
His last act was to hide his will, saying that his entire estate and all his assets will belong to anyone, family or not, clever enough to find the will.
A lot of producers of the time, and even today, would try and make them either look more realistic or use CGI, instead of being true to the source material.